Welcome everyone to the Consistently OK podcast. My name's Luke and I'm here as always with Nick.
Hello.
Presenting you with a podcast centered around pop culture that we do our very best to make consistently okay for you. Each month we give you one episode where we talk about all things pop culture related and break down our thoughts and more on it. Our second monthly episode will be our in-depth series, and this season we're focusing on Batman. From films to animation, we will take you on a journey through the highs and lows, ins and outs of representation of Batman throughout the years. This week's episode is sponsored by Heart Vehicle Contracts. Heart Vehicle Contracts is a friendly family-run car dealership based in Warwickshire. HVC was established in 1984 and they have many years of experience selling top quality new and used cars in Stratford-upon-Avon. You can find them at www.heartvehiclecontracts.com, where you can check out up-to-date stock list and make appointments for test drives and more. Okay, so this episode is going to focus on things coming out in 2022, what Nick and I are both looking forward to. We did this last year for 2021 and it was a very fun episode, so we'll stick to the same formula where we'll both pick a couple of things from across different genres. So we'll do films, TV shows and games, and we'll alternate. You say one, I say one, and then we'll talk about each one, and you'll all be as excited as we are by the end of this podcast, if you're not already excited.
Yes,
you probably are.
I mean, it's also Christmas Eve when this comes out, so people should be excited.
You should just don't open presents. Listen to this podcast. Listen to this podcast whilst you open presents.
Yes. What better gift than on Christmas morning to listen to us talk about what's coming out in the next year?
Exactly. And maybe next year we can get some merchandise so you can open some consistently okay presents.
Yes, that's what you want.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks for this consistently okay pillow. That's probably that's what people want.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll start with films.
Yes.
It's a big list. I have several choices, but I will let you go first.
Oh, so, thanks, mate.
What film are you looking forward to coming out in 2022?
Do you know what? I'm going to go for something that's a bit of a curveball.
I knew it.
Because I just like to throw these things out there. So it's not necessarily something that's within the genre. However, I'm bloody excited about it because I always just think it's like good filmmaking. But Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon. I generally have no idea what that is.
So it is Scorsese's latest film.
I do know. I actually just read about this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't literally just read about it, but I've read about it in Empire magazine.
The cast is just great. You got Jesse Plemons, DiCaprio, Brendan Fraser, Robert De Niro, John Lithgow. Well, there's just like loads of folks.
Is Pacino in it? Or have I? No,
just going through the cast list on IMDb, but there is a lot of people. But yeah, just
good old Brendan Fraser getting in there.
He's doing a lot as well. He's done a bit of a comeback.
He's in the Batgirl film, isn't he? Or TV show.
Supposedly playing Firefly, which is
nice,
intriguing. But yeah, it just sounded cool. I always like a Scorsese film. I really like the plot of it, just for anybody who doesn't know what it's about. The plot is said to say members of the Osage tribe in the United States are murdered under mysterious circumstances in the 1920s, sparking a major FBI investigation involving J. Edgar Hoover. And I just thought that sounds very Scorsese.
Yes.
And yeah, the last Scorsese thing was The Irishman, which I loved. And yeah, I'm it's one of those ones where I'm like low key really excited about it. Just because I always think a Scorsese film is a pretty big deal. Yeah.
I haven't seen Irishman actually. I was just thinking when you said that about The Irishman, because I remember I was going to watch it, but then everyone's just told me how it's quite long, which I know sounds mental for not watching it, but when it came out, I don't know if I just had my second child. Maybe.
No, it came out because I saw it in the cinema. I think it came out
of course,
Christmas before lockdown.
Oh, maybe my firstborn was very young. I can't remember, but I remember thinking we're never going to make it through this film. So
yeah,
but I should watch it. It's a really good cast as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's always a really good cast, isn't it, with Scorsese?
Yeah, and I really enjoyed The Irishman. Like, it is long, but I don't think it sags in the same way that like Goodfellas is quite long,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily think of it being quite long. You just like I'm into these characters, and I think Irishman's the same, where I just really enjoyed it, and so that's sort of what makes me excited for Killers of the Flower Moon, because I feel like it's been like 2 or 3 years since the last Scorsese. So
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
When's it due out?
I don't know the exact day.
2022.
Yeah, that's what this podcast is all about. 2022. So look for it then.
I was thinking of DiCaprio because he's in a new film on Netflix just around this time, isn't he?
Look Up.
Yeah, Don't Look Up. That's a really good cast as well.
Yeah,
Jonah Hill and Jennifer Lawrence and everything.
Yeah, it's
Is that Jude Apatow who's done that? No, it's not Jude Apatow.
Adam Mckay. The guy who did
Adam Mckay. That's it. Yeah,
Anchorman, and he did like Vice and Big Short and stuff. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I was reading an article about him and Will Ferrell the other day as well, and their fallout.
Yeah, they had like massive fallout. I didn't know this until recently. Somebody told me.
They did. Yeah,
yeah,
because he didn't get cast, so Will Ferrell was going to be cast in something, but then he went with John C. Reilly instead.
Yeah.
So there's probably loads more to it than that, but that was the gist of it.
Yeah, that was what I read. So, crazy. But yeah,
nice.
So that was my first one. It was a curveball. Don't know how many of our listeners are going to be like sick Scorsese, but I'm going for it.
They're just all like, "What the hell, Nick? We've come here to talk about the MCU and nothing else."
Yeah.
Well, listen. Well, that was not on my list, but it definitely is something I am going to look forward to.
Cool.
So I'll save my curveball for my second one because it's a real curveball.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to try and steer a little bit away from the Marvel films because we'll just wrap up those quickly at the end of this little segment. But John Wick 4.
Oh, yes. Good shout. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
God,
fuck yeah. Good. John Wick 4. Just can't wait. I actually saw Nobody the other day.
Oh, yeah. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard it's good.
Which is really, really, well, it's not really, really good. That's an over-exaggeration. It's good. It's like popcorn. It's got a little bit of comedy in it, but not too much. And it's obviously the fighting is basically like John Wick as well.
Yep.
It's not as, it doesn't feel as cool as John Wick because it's obviously there's Keanu Reeves and there's what's his name?
Bob
Odenkirk. How do you say his name?
Yeah, Odenkirk.
Harry's gonna be like, nailed it, Luke.
Yeah,
what a name. We'll call him Bob. Bob is very good in the role as well, but he's obviously very different to Keanu Reeves, and which makes it even better as a film because it shouldn't work on paper on TV. God, I'm mixing everything up today, but it does work, and it's a very good film. So watching that the other day, I just thought John Wick is so good as well, and I cannot wait to see the fourth one because I've loved John Wick 1 and 2, and I really, really like John Wick 3.
3 is great.
So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it, and probably more so because the Matrix Resurrections comes out here. So that's actually going to be on HBO Max here next week. So
nice.
I can watch it from the comfort of my home, Jesus Christ. I shouldn't be vocal on a podcast. I can't talk properly. It's because the cinemas are closed here in Norway. So I'm gonna try to see it in the cinema after Christmas, but I've got a feeling we might lock in. I don't know. But if not, I'll see it at some point. Hopefully we can talk about it on the next podcast because I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. But I don't know if you will either. I just I've heard good things. I've heard the nostalgia of it is what drives it, which makes sense because I think it's going to go a bit back and forth, or they revisit a lot of the other ones through various means. So I think that's probably going to be the driving force behind it. I think people that liked the first Matrix will probably get a buzz from this, and that's probably what will hold it up a little bit. But again, I mean, if you think about how good the visuals were for the Matrix when it came out, like think of how far everything's come now, it's going to be balmy. I think it's going to be very high action, but it will definitely not be anywhere near as good as what John Wick 4 is going to be. Yeah, definitely not. I think that's the problem is like the Matrix, the first Matrix is great, and then I think the other two are shocking. But John Wick, since existing
post Matrix. In my head, all the action of Matrix Resurrections has to match what John Wick does.
Yeah,
like it has to feel real, practical, like a sensibility to it. And I just don't get that feeling like watching that trailer, which I've seen several times because they play it before every film that I go to see in the cinema. And every time I see the trailer, I'm like, this film just doesn't look good. So I'm excited to talk about that on the next one because I'm not sold on it. But John Wick 4, I'm very sold because John Wick 3 was like one of the most intense films I think I've seen in the cinema.
It was so good. That final fight at the end was just
mental.
Excellent.
The knife fight as well, where there's just like loads of knives and they're being thrown. I remember being sat in the cinema. I was like, "Fucking hell, it's crazy." It's good though.
I'm really excited about John Wick 4.
Yes, I mean, I'm sold on that.
The down.
Yeah.
What have you got next?
What do I have next? Not really a curveball because this is definitely within our genre. However, it's not what I guess people might suspect I'm going to say. Lightyear.
That was my curveball.
Oh, sorry.
You dick.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
Now I'm going to have to say a Marvel film.
Yeah, I've ruined it. I'm so excited for that. I think it looks really cool. I love Toy Story. I can't remember.
You're literally saying what I was. Well, I don't know what you're going to say next, but my whole thing was like, I really love Toy Story. I love Chris Evans. Awesome. Lightyear. That's like, I don't know. Help me, God.
No, okay. Like I absolutely love Toy Story, and the third one, I can't remember why, but I didn't see it in the cinema. Partially glad I didn't. Like part of me is gutted that I didn't get to witness it on cinema, but I watched it at home, and I was on my way. I watched it before I was going to work. I was working at Game at the time, and it was like a 30-minute walk from my house to Game. And I finished Toy Story 3 about 10 minutes before I had to go to work, and like bawled my eyes out through the third act of Toy Story 3, and then was walking to work for like 30 minutes just casually sobbing. And I was like, I must look like such a mess walking through Stratford, just like his toys.
Was that because when they're in the garbage pit going towards the fire, or was it because you thought that was the end? Or
it was a bit of both. The garbage fire thing, that was like, oh my God. But also I think it's just the fact that the core of that film is about growing up. It's about like letting go of your like childhood toys and what's next. And I was like, I'm just not ready for that.
Just be like me and don't ever give up your childhood toys.
Exactly.
If anything, get more toys.
Yeah, just keep going.
Getting those action figures.
Yeah. But so dead excited for Lightyear. That's definitely.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it as well. That's out the first half of the year, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think it's like May, June.
Yeah, May, June time. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my next one is going to be a Marvel film, but it's not MCU Marvel film, and it's going to be really annoying to talk about because it's going to contain multiple Spider people. I haven't seen No Way Home, so I don't want to hear anything about that, Nick. But Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1.
Yes, that was on my list.
Just take me to the cinema now. I am so excited for all of it. The trailer was really good, the one that came out recently.
Not seen it.
It's very, very good. So that's it's only very short, but you just get immediately thrown back into that sort of that world, the animated world, and Miles and things like that. And I just think the first one, I know we've done a whole podcast on it before, but I just think it was so good. And I love everything about it, everything about the first film. And I'm really excited that there's this one and there's a part 2 that's obviously going to come out as well because, man, damn, it's just everything I think you could want in a Spider-Man film. I think the more I watch it, the more I love it more every time. It's definitely up there with Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire, Doc Ock Spider-Man film, which is my favorite Spider-Man film.
Why not Spider-Man 3?
I mean, that's just too good.
That is true.
It just comes off the list and into its own stratosphere of excellency.
Yeah, it really does.
I'm excited. I'm excited. What I'm excited about the animated is that because it's obviously another take on villains and everything. The rogue gallery for Spider-Man is so good, and I loved what they did with Kingpin. And obviously, you got a bit of Green Goblin. You had Tombstone in there. You had Doc Ock. I'd love to see what villains they come up with. I'm wondering, is it going to be like the Dan Slott Spider-Verse run where they've got like a new villain? There's a guy who basically got a Spider-Geddon rather, when there's a character who's basically tracking all the spider people basically to get power.
Cool.
Or are they going to go like Lizard or Craven, or what are they going to? Probably not going to be Craven, is it, with the game coming out? But I don't know what they're going to do, and that's the exciting thing. And what are the spider people they're going to introduce? So they've teased it a little bit with the end of the first Spider-Verse film.
Yeah.
So really look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm dead excited. When they announced that it's part 1, part 2, that got me really excited as well, just because I assume then that there's some point in the story that is going to be like almost like the Empire Strikes Back. Like they will end the first part on like oh my god. And
like a Infinity War.
Yeah.
vibe.
And like they can do anything in that world because it's so linked to the multiverse that there are so many possibilities of what they could throw at you that I'm just like, awesome. I think that's going to be very,
so
very
also
cool.
nice because there's part 2 as well. It's kind of like that you're going to get more of it quicker as well. It's not like okay, that's the second one. The third one's going to come out in 5 years' time. It's part 1. It means part 2 is likely being made very close to it.
Yeah, I assume together because I think they're released a year apart. I think they said.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Unlike June, which is I don't know, that even started production on the second part yet? Because they had to wait, didn't they? So
yeah, they had to wait to see if they made the box office to finance the second one. Or
I watched that a second time, by the way, and I wasn't as mad on it the second time. I was
really?
Oh.
I think I've seen it twice now, and both times I was like, yeah, I really like it. It's just big and epic.
I just think because I didn't see it at the cinema, I feel like the second time I watched it, I thought, you know what? I should have seen this at the cinema. It would have been much better.
It is like sci-fi porn. Like
it is.
Seeing it on the biggest screen is like, oh my god, the detail is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean the colors, the way it's shot is just fantastic, isn't it? All the cinematography and everything.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
So we got John Wick 4, Lightyear, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, and Scorsese film. What was that
Killers
called?
of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes.
So other honorable mentions from me before we
Yes.
move on to TV. I also had, it's all superhero films pretty much, but I had Thor: Love and Thunder, obviously Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness, Black Adam, Flash, and of course the big one, definitely for this podcast anyway, because we're pretty much sponsoring it, is the Batman.
Yes. Yeah, they should really invite us to the premiere for that because we mention it in every episode.
Every episode, yeah. It's going to be huge. Imagine if it's absolutely shit. I mean, we would still have a good podcast because we can just tear it apart. But
I'd be so gutted though, because I feel like they've, with them announcing like 2 HBO Max series set in the same universe, I feel like they're confident that they're like, this is going to be it. Like, I'd be amazed if they cancelled the sequel to the Batman, because then surely they'd cancel the series and it would just all get messy.
The producer was saying in the New Empire magazine that their aim is at the studio now is to beat the Christopher Nolan trilogy. Like that's the aim. Like
I could see it.
They want to do bigger. Assume they mean money as well, but like I think in terms of everything, like how the critics receive it, to how the characters are received, to the portrayals of the characters. I mean, they're obviously quite high on Colin Farrell's Penguin, aren't they? I'm not saying he's like going to be Heath Ledger Joker, but it's getting like
a lot of buzz.
A lot of buzz, and obviously he's got his own TV show from it as well, hasn't he? So
which is just signed up for. So
I don't know if you saw those Empire covers, but there's a really great Selena Kyle Catwoman cover.
The one where she's like looking through a thing.
No, she's just it's like a side pose. There's one of her, and there's a Robert Pattinson Batman one, and then there's a Jock subscriber cover.
Classic.
Which is a really cool piece of art. So obviously, I'm really excited about the Batman and Black Adam from the DC side of things. I know you and I have said before we're a bit 50-50 on Flash, but I think Multiverse of Madness, which I'm already excited about, but I'm going to assume No Way Home will make me more excited about it, and Thor: Love and Thunder, just because I know you didn't like Ragnarok, but I did like Ragnarok, and I'm excited to see where they go, especially with Christian Bale in it and everything.
Yeah.
So
yes, my honorable mentions. I didn't have any MCU films on there. Shock.
I don't know why we're friends. Sometimes
I had the Batman on there, of course. Operation Fortune, which is Guy Ritchie's next film. I thought that looked quite fun.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Wrath of Man yet, which I've heard is quite good. I'm amazed that he's done so many films back to back.
Yeah.
Crazy. Scream, because I'm curious about it. I don't know if
I'm curious about Scream as well.
Avatar 2, because it's been 13 years.
That's off my list. I'll never go on my list.
I'm curious about it. Just because it's been in the works so long and they've already made the third one, which is nuts. Flash was on there, Black Adam was on there. The Northman, which is
Northman. That is one that I didn't write on my list, but I was just thinking about it when you were talking. Then I thought that looks very, very good.
Haven't seen the trailer, but the cast is mental, and the lighthouse is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, and I'm curious.
It does look weird, but in a good way. It's very trailers like very high energy, dark, gritty,
cool.
A little bit confusing, but good.
I mean, the lighthouse was so confusing. It was
lighthouse, but it's very good.
Yeah,
there's a really good meme at the moment of like 2019, and it's Willem Dafoe. I don't think it's him and Rob Pattinson, or it might be, but they're really happy, and it's like going into 2022, and it's just the picture of them in the lighthouse. It's just like, yeah, that's
amazing.
That sums up. And there's another one with like it's Greece, like 2020. It's Greece, and it's Danny and Sandy in the car at the drive-in, and they're all happy. And then it's like going into 22, and it's Pulp Fiction with Uma Thurman and
good
John Travolta, and looking like shit. So
so
cool.
Yeah, Northman, and then my last two were The Grey Man, which is the Russo brothers.
Yes, the new one.
It's got like everybody in it that I'm intrigued by, and Argyle. Matthew Vaughn's spy film, which basically sounds like Bond, like his take on what Bond would be. I think that'll be really cool because I quite like Matthew Vaughn as a director.
Is The Grey Man on Netflix? Is that the Russo brothers, or they got to deal with Apple?
I can't remember whether it's Netflix or Apple, because Cherry came out on Apple.
Yeah, but then the one with Chris Hemsworth came on Netflix, didn't it?
Extraction.
There's Extraction 2 as well.
They didn't direct that though.
Oh no, they just produced it.
Yeah. Whereas The Grey Man and Cherry, they directed.
Nice.
So yes. So that was all my films.
All right. A lot of film choices. Should we move into TV shows?
Yes.
Okay. Now my list is very geeky, very pop culture-y. So you've probably got a few more curveballs than me. I mean, do you want me to say the first one?
You go first, yeah.
So this isn't necessarily a curveball, and it's out very soon, but it's Peacemaker.
Oh yeah. Okay.
From James Gunn, because I enjoyed the Suicide Squad. I didn't love it. Again, we've spoken about it, but I like the Peacemaker. I like the look of Peacemaker because it seems, even though it's a comedy and it's action, it seems a little bit more grounded. Like I just like the fact that it's feels like a tight knit cast, and I think John Cena as Peacemaker was pretty good. So I'm very excited to see James Gunn do a TV series as well, because as I said before, that Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad were basically felt like the same template, and he's just changed a few elements. But with this, he has to, it's not going to be the same as that, is it? Because he hasn't got a Groot or a King Shark, and he has got all these other supporting huge name characters. It's just Peacemaker, and then a few of his team that were Viola Davis' team from, what's her name, Amanda Waller's team rather.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it, and it's out very soon as well. So I'm ready to sink my teeth into something like it. But I guess from your reaction, you're not that excited about Peacemaker.
I'll watch it because obviously it's set in DC, and curious about that all the time. But I just, because the Suicide Squad, I can give or take. Like I've got no interest in ever watching it again. Saw it once and I feel like that was enough. And I think Peacemaker, I've only seen one trailer for, but the first trailer I saw for it, I was just sort of like, yeah, it's all right. I'll watch it. But there was nothing in it that I was like, oh, I can't wait to see that. It just sort of looks more of the Suicide Squad. So I'm curious, but I'm not like, oh my God. Whereas my choice, I am genuinely like, oh my God, give it me now.
Okay.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Ah, yes. It's on my list as well.
Amazing.
Just put me down. I think people are going to think we're really weird, only because it's just not really linked to much else that we talk about in here. But
it does have Shazam in it, if that helps anybody.
That's the link.
Yeah, if you like Shazam,
if you like comics,
yeah,
you like Shazam, this is for you.
So I just can't wait, because you only watched it recently, whereas I've been watching it when it comes out. And so for me, the wait for this 4th season has been so long. And I just, every time I watch it, it just gives me a boost, because the writing is so good on it. The comedy is great. All the actors are great. It's just so well done that, I don't feel like I've come away from an episode of it and been like, like every episode of me has always been like fuck, that's so well written. It's annoying.
I think it's got better and better as well, because I think we said before as well, which I keep saying, but that everyone kind of went down a bit on season 2, but I just generally, I think from season 1 onwards, it's got better. And this is something I never thought I was going to watch. When my wife Yannicka said to me, we should try Marvelous Miss Maisel, I was like, it just doesn't. I just don't think I'm going to like it. But we do have a big thing between us where if I really want to watch something and she's not sure, she always ends up liking it. Okay. And it's the same with me as well. There are some things I definitely can't get on board with. Like I cannot for the life of me understand why I'm watching Sex and the City 60 years later. Like I don't know how this is happening to me, but it's called something else now, and they're all older, and there's no Sex in the City anymore. It's just don't understand what's going on. But that is not one. But most of the time, with something like this, I'm like, you know what, this is pretty good, and it's just dragged me in, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be watching it now. So I'm looking forward to season 4. Yes,
I'm so ready for that. That might end up coming into the monthly episodes.
It's going to be our next in depth, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's going to be the Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Just everybody should start watching it. Yeah. So that was my first one.
Nice. Well, I've got a toss up for my next one, but I think I'm going to go with a safe bet, which is Stranger Things.
Oh shit! I forgot about that. We had this on 2021 as well.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did, because at the end we were like, "Oh, is there anything else?" No, Stranger Things. So, but because it's been such a long time now, and it's a show that I really, really like, and I've kind of like, I'm not like a super fan, but I've gone more and more into it since there's been a break. I tried the D&D game of it.
Cool.
I've read the comics now as well. There is some bad stuff, but there's also some good stuff.
Okay.
So I'm not throwing myself into it, but I've tried to read a bit more about it, and there are some books as well that I might try, but I mean, books don't have pictures though, like a comic. So
this is true.
You
could draw your own.
But I'm excited. I could draw my own, just all over the words.
Yeah.
But I've seen both the trailers now, and there's obviously, it feels like it's kind of two different things. You've got some stuff going on with. Have you seen the trailers?
No. The only thing I'd seen was that shot of David Harbour, which I don't think was a part of the trailer. I think that was just like a tease video or something. Where he just like turns around.
There are like there's actually 3 things then, because the trailer doesn't really show much of him, but there's got some stuff going on with 11, and then you've got some stuff going on with like Steve and what's his name?
Oh, Dustin,
yeah. I thought his name was Dustin. It's like, maybe that's his real name. So I normally say the real names. Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, it's Dustin. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. I really like every episode of that. I feel is really, really strong. And I also, because they have a different sort of, obviously the first one was the kids, and obviously there's a lot of stuff in the Upside Down, but the second one was all about the mall and everything.
Yeah.
And wait, is this, did I say season 4? Did I say season 3? Is this season 3?
This is season 4 coming out. Season 3 is the mall. Season 2
3 is
was
the mall.
yeah,
Season 2 is the yeah, it's like a
yeah,
continuation. Season 1.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it, and
yeah.
just I like the whole vibe of it. I like the bits. I like all the I like the nostalgia bit, the retroness. I like the music at the beginning, the eerie like the Twilight Zone type thing. So
Yeah.
excited, and they're all a bit older now, and they're all even better actors and actresses than they were at the beginning. Like you know, see the kid who was in the new Ghostbusters film. Is his name Nate?
Finn Wolfhard.
Finn Wolfhard, yeah. So he's Nate. So he's you know, he's in better as an actor, and
yeah,
I'm just excited, looking forward to it, and it just feels like a big deal that's coming out as well. So
I'm gonna miss Billy though. I got a bit attached to Billy. I thought he was quite a cool character in season 3. I think he's in 2. Is he?
Yeah, he's in.
Yeah, he's in 2. They introduced him in 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fucking love his introduction in season 3 where he's the lifeguard and he's just like a little bit cocky and like smarmy. I was like, cool. I dig it. He was like very 80s high school like metalhead. But yeah,
it feels like only the other day that I watched that episode when he's a lifeguard at the beginning. Like that doesn't feel like season 2 was out that long ago, but also it's been ages since.
Yeah, season 3 was like what? It was like summer 2019.
Yeah, must have been summer 2019. Yeah.
Yeah,
it would have been definitely, because that was it was out around when I was last in England. So
crazy.
But
yes, that I'd forgotten about that. That's a good shout.
All right.
My next one, I'm actually going to pull it back into the world of comics.
Ooh.
I could have gone for a curveball, but I am pulling it back into the world of comics. The Sandman. I know you're not a fan of the comic. I've read, I think, 4 or 5 volumes, and I just fucking love the world. I there's something about Neil Gaiman's writing, and there's one issue in, I think it's the 2nd volume. There's 2 issues actually. There's one in the 1st volume where it's all about like this diner where people just go nuts and it's fucked up. And I'm super excited to see if they do that on film, because I think it will be one of the most twisted things you'll see. Like the issue is just mental. And then I think in the 2nd volume, they do this really cool thing where they sort of do a how Midsummer Night's Dream was made, like how Shakespeare came up with the idea. And it's just such a bizarre idea for a comic book that I'm really excited to see what they do. And I think the cast is great as well.
Is it? Do you think so? I wasn't that sold on the cast.
Yeah, I thought the cast was pretty good. I really like the lead guy. I've forgotten his name. Tom Sturridge? Is that his name?
Yeah, Tom Sturridge, yeah.
I really like him. I think he's a good actor. I think David Thewlis is awesome. I like Jenna Coleman. Gwendoline Christie as Lucifer, I think, is a very cool shout.
I mean, it might just be I'm just negative, because I can't get on board with the comics because I work in a comic shop as well, and everyone's just like, yeah, Sandman, it's just so many editions and the books and the audios. I think because I've never enjoyed it, like it's just overwhelmed me. There's just so much of it, and
there's a lot.
I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I mean, I'll try it, of course.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, but yeah, like I love Boyd Holbrook as well. I think him as the Corinthian's a great shout. Charles Dance is in it. Stephen Fry, like
Charles Dance is in everything.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I think over the last 2 or 3 years, just fallen in love with Neil Gaiman's writing.
I like Neil Gaiman's writing. I just don't like the Sandman. The Sandman. I just don't like Sandman.
It's weird because I read the Sandman overtures first, and I was like, this is weird as fuck, and I don't get it. And then I can't remember who it was. There was somebody that was like, oh, that's not the start of the series. Like, that's like towards the end. And I was like, didn't know that. And then they were like, okay, go read volume 1. And then I read volume 1. I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, I get what it is. And then I've sort of just taken it step by step. So I'm like, I'm not even going to think about all the other fucking series that are attached to this. I'm literally just going to do it volume 1 to 9 or 10 or whatever it is, and just like read it in a bubble and be like, there's nothing else attached to this. It is purely just this. And I think that's made it more manageable. But before, definitely when people were like, oh yeah, the overtures, like the ending, I was like, where the fuck do you start? But yeah,
where do you start? I have no idea.
I think that's the thing. I think it's one of those things where it's grown so big that it's like it's really hard to jump into it. But I wonder whether the series will give you an in the same way that, like, we were just talking about The Witcher before this started. So I played The Witcher 3, I think, when it first came out, and I was like, this is rubbish. I was like, I just don't get on with it. I thought it was naff. I was like, I don't like the world, don't like the characters. And then I watched the series and I was like, fuck, this makes me want to go back and play the game. And I've got this like real itch to play it, and I'm just waiting for them to drop the PS5 version. But I think it's because seeing the world in a TV show, I'm like, oh, this is what it is and this is what it does. And I wonder whether the Sandman will work in the same way, that it's like it will just capture people in a way that maybe the books struggle to, if people are not getting it.
Yeah. I mean, as one of my friends at work, he loves the Wheel of Time stuff, and he's been desperate for me to watch it or read the books, but I've not started the books. But he's just like, so the TV show's ruined everything.
Oh no! Oh god.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Sandman. I just, maybe it will switch me onto. I mean, again, I've not really given it much of a chance. I think I read Preludes and Nocturnes, is it called?
Yeah, Preludes and Nocturnes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the second one as well. And I just like, no, it's just not for me. But anyway, fingers crossed it's good. That's out late next year, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I don't know if they've announced the release date. I couldn't find it, but yeah, I'm very keen for it, just because the cast mainly. I just think it's cracking.
Cool. So I've got other things. I've got Mandalorian, obviously, which comes out the end of next year.
Yeah, I couldn't find out whether that is legit next year or.
I think it is. I think it's supposed to be Christmas, isn't it? I think the idea behind all these releases is that you can get a lot of merchandise sold between October and December if you release it before Christmas. I mean, we still sell at our shop. You still can't get enough of the Grogu stuff.
Oh, classic. Love it.
So I've got Mandalorian. I've obviously got like the obvious ones: Moon Knight, Secret Invasion. I've also got Obi-Wan on there, which is out some point next year.
That was on mine.
Ted Lasso, which I love.
Oh yes, good shout.
And the last one I've got is the Lord of the Rings prequel on Amazon.
Yes, that's also on mine. Yes.
Which is not loads going on about it at the moment other than the synopsis, but I feel like I'm ready to dive into a Lord of the Rings TV show. So
yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm also very nervous just because I don't want it to be like, I didn't enjoy The Hobbit. And part of that was because it was such a CGI fest. It lost that like magic for me, that it went from being like it's a world to it was like, oh, it's computer generated. And so I hope the series isn't a CGI fest.
Well, there's an awful lot of money behind it, isn't there?
Yeah.
This is I think it's, well, I don't know when I read it, but it's one of the highest costing productions in TV history, because Amazon have an awful lot of money, don't they? So
yeah, throwing it out. I'm cautiously optimistic about it, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, other mentions I've got. I had Lord of the Rings, had Obi-Wan. House of the Dragon, I'm curious.
Yeah, I went so off Game of Thrones towards the end. I just got no excitement for it. But again, I'll watch it. It's a really good cast. So yeah, we'll see.
That's what is pulling him in, is like the cast is good. I just don't know if the story will be. But
there's no pressure, is there, either? Because it's not like a waiting. Obviously, the TV show had to make up its own ending.
Yeah,
away from the books. You used the source material for so long and then had to make up an ending, whereas this, doesn't have that issue. So
yeah. The Boys season 3.
Forgot about The Boys.
Yeah.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah, I was like,
bloody love The Boys.
Yeah, it's mental. So I'm excited for that, and I'm fairly certain you won't be a fan of this, but Halo, I'm very curious about, just because it's been in production for like forever. And I like the guy that they've got cast as the Master Chief. I haven't seen the trailer because they put out the trailer recently, but I just feel like it's like so many people have worked on trying to make that a live action thing that I'm kind of like, why is this the one that's stuck? What is it about this? And the fact that they've said it's not canon, it's set in its own like world, like its own pocket verse or whatever the fuck it was. I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to do something really interesting with it, but I don't know.
You are correct. I am not. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to it, but I will again. I've only ever played the first Halo game, and just not for me. I've never been into like. I was never an Xbox guy, so I never really played it that much. Whereas you were one of those scumbags.
The first Halo didn't grab me. I remember thinking it was okay. Halo 2 really got me. Like, I thought the story to Halo 2 was great, and the story to Halo 3 is brilliant. But
there's a new one, isn't there? Halo Infinite, is that new?
Yeah, they switched developers. So there was a developer for 1, 2, and 3, and they made like 2 spin-offs, I think. And then a new developer came in for 4, 5, and Infinite, and they've been awful. Like 4 is horrendous. 5 was terrible, like worse than 4, which was like, that's not possible. And then Infinite has had like so much hype around it, and I was like, I think it's going to be naff. I think it's going to be naff. And one of my best mates, like a Halo fan, played it, and he texted me going into it, and he was like, I'm optimistic. I think it's going to be good. I think it'd be cool. And I didn't hear from him for a week because he was busy, and he played it in that time. Like, he did the whole campaign, and he texted me. He was like, okay, so since we last messaged, I finished it, and it's awful. He was like, it's so hollow. It's so boring. There's nothing to it. I was like, yeah.
Strange. I read a review saying like, if you love the original Halos, this one will pull you back into the universe. But I was like, I didn't play the originals, and I don't want to go into this universe. Yeah. Why am I reading this review? But
yeah,
it's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame when they've got a really good thing and they just can't quite crack it again. Which you never know. Hopefully, if the TV show does well, then maybe I don't know, someone else will pick up the game and they'll make it work, make it great again. Maybe they just have to go back to the beginning again with the games.
That's what I'm kind of wondering about the series. Like, I'm wondering whether for like people like yourself, for instance, who haven't necessarily got into the games, whether the series pulls you into the story, because the core story is a good idea. I just wonder whether it's like the gameplay style is what. Like, I know some people don't like first-person shooters, and some people just don't like sci-fi games, but they like sci-fi stories or whatever. And I wonder whether the series will do that, because I've only seen pictures, but it looks high budget as fuck. Like, it looks like they've thrown money at it. And I think that story does work. It just depends on how they've made it work as a series. That's the thing that I don't know. I don't know whether it becomes like a boring sci-fi. But yeah, curious about that. Yeah, snuck in.
Well, let's talk about games then. That's our last section to go through. So a lot of these games we always talk about. Again, it's a bit like the Batman, that we always lead on to them. So I'm going to try and go with a couple of things that are a bit different to what will most likely just be honorable mentions now. So the first one I'm going to say is Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. I don't know if you ever played Breath of the Wild.
Played a little bit of it, and it wasn't my jam. Nintendo games and me just sort of don't gel. I think they're good. Yeah, I was like, they're good party games, but I just never have any emotional attachment to them.
The first Breath of the Wild game was fantastic. It was so good. It was so good. And I loved it. I played it on someone else's Nintendo because I didn't have a Nintendo Switch at the time.
Good.
and it was really, really good fun. And then I got the handheld Nintendo Switch Lite, and I played it again, and it's just it's a really beautiful game. The story is great, characters are perfect, Link and everything. The villain Ganon, and it just looks so good that from the moment you're in the first part and you can see everything going on in the distance that's bad, and that you're constantly going towards that badness. Badness, probably a word.
Good. Love it.
Good, perfect. And I just think it's great, and there's so much hype about the second one as well. And I can't really see how it can go wrong. They've re-released a few Zelda games since, A Link to the Past and another one, Skyward Sword, which were both really good remasters, especially Link's Awakening. So yeah, really excited. Just want to play it and walk around with my Switch Lite and play it every minute that I am not working or looking after my children or anything. So
nice.
Really excited.
Good. What is going to be my first one? Annoyingly, I think all the games I've got we did speak about for 2021.
I mean, I'm going to talk about one that we speak about anyway. So
okay, I'm going to go for first one is one I think I talked about, but Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, looks good.
It does, and I think I said this in 2021 as well, like our episode then, that I wasn't particularly sold on the first. I played it, and for the majority of the game, I was like, yeah, it looks all right. And then I was like, story's fine. And then in the third act, it really got me. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool twist. And just everything about it started clicking. And I was like, okay, you've got me invested in this world now, and I'm curious. And all the stuff that they've shown for it throughout this year, I guess that's the difference between the other episode is I hadn't seen as much, but now having seen like gameplay and having seen some more like snippets about the story, it just looks like they've gone as like deep as they can with the storytelling. They've just thrown everything at it and gone like, in case we don't ever get to tell another Horizon story, we're giving you as much as we can. And it just looks brilliant. So yeah, and it's out soon. It's like February or something.
Yeah, it's February. I mean, I've not played the games overly, but this one does look really good. I watched the trailer for it the other day. Because I think it was for the February release trailer, basically. And man, it just looks. I mean, I don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, but if I had a PlayStation 5, that would be a game I would be looking to get. I think just to look stunning.
Yeah, it does look. They've really done the first one does look good as well. The first one, there's some moments in it where you're like, wow, this is really impressive. Like the draw distance and stuff. It's like, wow, this is awesome. But this next one, they've just done such a cracking job at like giving you new environments that you didn't experience in the first one. And you're like, oh, that does look very cool. Yeah, so that would be my first game.
Well, my next one is, the more I've thought about it and the more I've rewatched trailers and stuff, I think the more I'm excited about it. Although I have, obviously, there is a chance it could bomb, but that's Gotham Knights.
Oh yeah,
we've spoken about loads, but I really think it might be. I think it will be good. I think I'm excited the fact that you and I could play it together as well.
Yes.
And I love the Court of Owls storyline. I like the fact that Scott Snyder's involved. I'm such a big fan of his comics, and you are as well. That I can't see how he would if he's in the writing room, how he would not be happy with the story. Mm-hmm. So if the story is as good as it could be, like a lot of these Batman games have been in recent years, then I think if the mechanics are very similar to Arkham as well, which again, they probably are, the only thing that's going to stand in his way is it's either going to feel like it's going to be a really short game, and I feel like that could be underwhelming, which there's no reason or logic to that reasoning. I just think it could be, or that they just don't quite get it right with how you switch between the characters.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the thing that holds it back. But I'm hopeful that whilst you can switch between characters, like there's some logic to why you would switch.
Yeah.
And it's not often. I hope if you play as Red Hood, then you're playing it for a chunk before you, right, this is the logical point to switch to Batgirl now, because she would suit this location better, or you can even try every location with each character. So
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it, and I really hope it does hold up to the hype I've given it in my own head.
yeah. I'm hoping that they again, like Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, which we talked about as our extra for last week's episode. I need to see more on it. I feel like I've seen more of Gotham Knights than I have of Suicide Squad, so I'm probably more sold on Gotham Knights. And I'm with you that knowing that Scott and also that Greg was involved gives me a sense of like they must have a story there that does that justice. Good pun. But yeah, it makes me curious about it. And I was thinking, I forgot to say on our squad extra, but I wonder whether the Gotham Knight switching works a little bit like GTA, where like all three of those characters exist in the same world at the same time, and you can switch at them at any point and they'll be doing something. Like you could switch to this character in GTA and he'd be in the middle of a fight, or you could switch and he'd be in a plane. And they're still like operating within that world, but then they have their own like set mission storyline thing. And then you get like one where you'll have to play as all three of them. Like all three.
Yeah, like when you get to the Mr. Freeze bit in the trailer, basically.
Yeah. And I thought that would be a really cool way to do it. Because it sort of just covers all your bases in terms of like if you're playing as Batgirl and then you're like, why isn't Red Hood helping out on this? There could be like a story reason for it that, you know, if you finish the mission as Batgirl and then you switch to Red Hood, you're like, oh shit, he's doing his own thing. That's probably why. And I just wonder whether if they did it like that, whether that would sort of make it a little bit, because then it's very different to Arkham. It's got its own kind of world and its own kind of like sensibility that it feels more open world, that it's more about there are a lot of people living in this version of Gotham.
That would be awesome. I mean, I think that we're going to find out a lot more about it soon. I mean, we're going to have to get release dates, aren't we, for Suicide Squad and, you know, Gotham Knights, and honorable mentions as well that we're probably going to bring up right now.
Yes.
Like God of War 2.
Yes, very keen.
And obviously Suicide Kills the Justice League that we said as well. The only other one I had on my list was, I think it's coming out on all platforms, and it's a really, really random game, but I'm really excited about it. It's a game called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Cool.
Which is it's basically Turtles, but you know, there was an old game like it as well, but it's based on the cartoon series, the 80s cartoon, which is but it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, like Streets of Rage type thing. Where like and Scott Pilgrim versus the World originally, where they're just side-scrolling, you're like beating people up, and then more thugs come from the sides.
Yeah, like Double Dragon.
Yeah, like Double Dragon. But I love that shit. I think that's awesome. And I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's huge. I'm a huge fan. So I'm, again, a bit like Zelda, I just want to get it on the Nintendo Switch, and just one of those games you could just pick up and jump in on. There's just nothing to it. Just bashing buttons and, you know, using weapons. So that is my small curveball. But yeah, Gotham Knights, God of War, Suicide Squad, Zelda, and that are the games I'm really looking forward to next year.
Nice. I've got like the exact same list. The only game that wasn't on there, it was the second game that I was going to talk about, which was Forspoken, I think it's called. Which I'm really curious about. I don't know much about it, and the trailer that they showed at
Game Con Fest?
Game
Awards.
Yeah. Was it the Game Awards? So that was recent. What was before that? Summer Games Fest, was that it? Or was it just maybe it was just PlayStation State of Play. Maybe it was just State of Play. But I thought the trailer for it looked really cool. It looked like an original story. Graphics look cool. There's like a fun little teleporting thing in it. It looked really original. Like it could absolutely bomb. But I just thought, fair enough that they've really invested in, again, like PlayStation are great for this, but they've invested in original storytelling. It's not like linked to anything else. It's its own IP. It's got a budget behind it. Like graphically, it looks insane. And and it just sounded interesting. I was just like, yeah, I'm in for it. I think it's out in May, but yeah, I just thought that looked really cool. So
Because didn't that get pushed back as well?
I think it was meant to come out this year. I think.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's due out in May now. But for the longest time, I think it was just under like Project Athea or something. It was like Square Enix developing like an next-gen PlayStation exclusive, and then yeah, when they sort of like really pulled the curtain behind on it and sort of like showed what the story is and like the actors and the like who's playing what, and it just looked really interesting. So yeah, I'm quite curious about it. We'll see.
Nice. There's another game I thought of when I said it was delayed is Midnight Suns, which is another Marvel game.
Oh yeah, Jesus, I forgot about
which got pushed back because that looks like a role playing type setup. So that's from 2K Games. That looks really good as well. So I'm excited to play something a little bit different.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a lot of DC coming out with only this Marvel, but obviously, you know, when we do talk about 2023 at the end of 2022, we'll be talking obviously about, you know, Spider-Man 2 and maybe even Wolverine. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. So, I mean, there's loads going on. The only thing I wanted to mention close to the end there was just a few comics that if people that listen to this are into comics, then there are some fantastic ones that will be coming out in 2022. A lot of Batman heavy ones. There's Batman Catwoman, which is by Tom King, which has been a fantastic single issue series. There's also One Dark Knight by Jock, which is my favorite artist, and he's writing. And there's also the Return of Saga from Brian K. Vaughan. So issue 55 comes out in January. So that's had a year break. So they're going to do another, I guess there's another 50 odd issues because I think they're saying they're doing the same length. So there's 9 volumes. So they'll do another 9 of those. So that's also very exciting. And there's plenty more comics coming out as well. But those, the Batman Catwoman by Tom King is worth everyone checking out when it lands eventually.
Tom King is bloody incredible.
And you've also got all the Scott Snyder stuff coming out that he's been releasing digitally. That'll all come out as trade paperbacks as well next year. And there's one more as well I was going to mention, but it's off
the Red Wave issue 1. It's out sometime in April.
The Red Wave. Who's that by, Nick?
Harry Hughes and
Hero.
That's it. It's all on him.
Just that guy.
Yeah,
it's all on him.
Sucks. It's all his fault.
Yeah, when it does really well, then you were a part of it as well.
Yeah, I'll just tag my name in somewhere. And hopefully, if we can make it work, our second issue of Odyssey will be out next year. Hopefully,
it's true as well. Fingers crossed.
Yes. So yeah, busy year.
Busy year ahead. Hopefully, the world opens up again, and we can even record a podcast side by side in person.
Yes, that'd be weird, wouldn't it?
That would be weird because here we are. Oddly, I was talking to one of my friends earlier, and I haven't seen him for 30 months. That's how long I've not seen. So the last time I was in England was 30 months ago.
I guess it's been what? 25 months
last time
we've seen each other? Was it November 2019?
Yeah, it must have been. That's when you came over last, isn't it? For a comedy con. So because the last time I was in England was August 2019, and then I was in Scotland, and then you guys came here. So it's just whole 2 years of COVID and a bit later, and I have another child since then, and it's all we still haven't seen each other in person for that long. So fingers crossed when we do this in 2022 for 2023, we'll be like, oh man, we've seen too much of each other. So so there's exciting plans in the podcast lands. We will be. We have big plans for the podcast as well, and trying to do even more to, keep this podcast going and do a few more special things as well. So big year ahead.
We've just crossed 1,000 plays as well, which is utterly incredible. So thanks to everybody for listening.
For listening to us go on, and me mess up my words 9 times out of 10.
And me loathing on the MCU.
Yes. We will. We should just do our next in-depth. If anyone has any ideas, by the way, for what we can do our next in-depth series on. Obviously, we're going to round up the Batman in March when we finish season 2 of this with the Batman, and then we have some some thoughts of what we might do. But if anybody has any ideas, you can tweet us, find us on Instagram, YouTube, and things, and we'll leave a review and let us know. We will take it under consideration / maybe do it.
We'll accept every answer. We'll accept every answer as long as your answer is the marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yes, that's it. Shoo-in. Let's just say we're going to do that. No one write in. We've already decided.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. So, speaking of where you can find us, you can follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Consistently Pod, and on YouTube by simply searching for Consistently UK Podcast. We stream on all podcast services, with each episode coming out on Wednesdays. If you're an Apple Podcast subscriber, subscribe for extra content. All right. So that's it for this episode. Merry Christmas, everyone. If you're listening after Christmas, then a Happy New Year.
Ooh, nice.
And I know, that's a very nice thing to add at the end, I thought. Yeah. Just in case they're listening to it, bam, on the 1st of January. They're like, oh shit, we're in the year 2022. Yeah. This is what we're going to be looking forward to.
If you're listening to this at the end of 2022, Merry Christmas for 2022.
Yeah, we could just keep doing it. If you're in the year 2028 and you're watching whatever the new Avengers film is, probably.
Yeah.
So, Zack Snyder's like back. He's just doing something.
If you're watching Justice League Part 3, fucking hell.
Yeah. You're watching Zack Snyder's Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So our next episode, we're going to be back to in depth. We're going to be doing The Dark Knight Rises with Christopher Nolan. We're going to have a very special guest with Neil from Get Your Comic On, who is just becoming more and more of a big deal, isn't he?
Yeah. You know, he's on it. He's come a long way since he's been on our podcast, reading from his Batman book. You know,
that's true. Yeah. He's just leaving us. He's leaving us in the dust, Nick. So that's why we'll drag him back down to our level.
Yes.
Awesome. So I hope you can join us for that as we're closing in on finishing up our in-depth series. We're going to do The Dark Knight Rises, and then we're going to talk some Batman animation, and then we'll be at the Batman. So we'll be coming full circle sooner rather than later. So everyone, again, Merry Christmas. Nick, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, dude.
I'm not going to talk to you again now until the next podcast.
Yeah.
We hate each other. Not on the podcast.
So much say a word. Yeah. Especially on Wednesdays when an MCU thing comes out. It's like, oof, shit. Oof. I won't say anything.
Well, we can talk about. I guess no, we can't talk about that. The next pop culture episode, there's loads to talk about. So,
there will be tons,
so bear with us, everyone. We'll catch up with everything.
Yes.
All right. Take care, all.
See you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.